All right. I hear y'all use the term silvopasture a lot. What does that exactly mean? That's a good question.
Silvopasture, like silvo, is like related to trees. So like silviculture is like trees being used in an agriculture standpoint. Silvopasture is SILVO. Pasture is what you think, trees and pasture like existing in the same entity. And so what you do is you thin the stems per acre as far as like the density of your tree stand down to a level that you can grow adequate amount of grass below it, and you then can run you can run your cattle through the trees, and you
gain some feed.
You gain feed value, but also you're preserving the high quality timber species in that stand of trees, which then, because they're released from all of the light competition from their like neighboring scrub trees, they'll explode and put on more board feet, and also improves like the quality of your timber stand. So as long as you make sure that your animals are moving fast enough through that timber and they're not hanging out in the silvopasture area, because cattle are hard on trees if they're there for any length of time. So if you keep them moving and you've got adequate grass, you get shade, sometimes you get feed value if there's like acorns, or if there's honey locust seed pods, or like, persimmons or apples, or like all kinds of stuff that the cattle could also eat. It's like a win-win. It's the only thing I'll say about silvopasture though is it is work.
It's a lot of labor
to get it up and running. And I think the reason I say that is because it's something that is sort of popular in the regenerative space, where people will be like, oh, like I got all this woods, I'm going to turn it into silvopasture. And it's like, you could, but it's going to take a lot more effort and a lot longer than you think it's going to. That's not saying that you can't do it. It's just you got to be aware of the fact that
for situations like there's a few different spots around the farm that have silvopasture, and they're super cool. I love the silvopasture.
Yeah, it's an awesome ecosystem.
It's like a multi-tiered production system. I think where it really excels is in the small scale space, where say someone has 40 acres and they have this 10 acre lot of trees, and they're running whatever 20 cows or however many they're running, sheep maybe, and they're like, oh man, I could really get some use out of that. And 10 acres is a lot easier to clear than 200 acres. you know, like it'll take effort, but it's a lot more doable. It's not as big of a mountain to tackle. And so I think that's where it's like, a huge advantage. Plus it's like with the smaller scale, you can take more care like directly for that spot, because, you have less to do. So you can put more attention towards it and more effort. And so you end up with a better product in the end. And so like in our situation, there's like 600 acres of woods that we could turn to silvopasture.
Well, just put it this way: all the leased farms here is 1,640 acres, and there's about 750 grazable acres.
So it's about
the rest of that is woods.
So 900 acres of timber.
It's like, there's so much.
All parts of the farm.
There's so much grazable acreage. It's like, but it would take you like 40 years to turn it all to silvopasture. And there are tools that make that faster. Like there are like machines that you can use that'll like chip trees just right on the spot, where it just like grabs it, cuts it off, turns it into wood chips and spits it out the other end. You know what I mean? And that kind of stuff, you could really make some progress with silvopasture, but it's expensive, and you can't be as selective almost as like in taking the care.
You're not getting like the value out of that timber, waste timber. Like maybe you could use it for firewood or something. Like that's where the smaller scale again.
The advantages. There's advantages of small scale as well as people are always like bigger scale always has an advantage, and it's like not necessarily. Certain things you can do a lot better on a smaller scale than you can on a larger scale, and a lot of things you can do better on a larger scale than you can on a smaller scale. So
it's like a balance.
You gotta take advantage of your leverage that you've got in your given situation.
That's a good question though.
Yep.